Thanksgiving getting ready to roll around, and don't get caught with no itty kitty. All right, you better get this detox and this tea to push up all the Auntie Thelma macaroni and cheese and yams and dressing up out your system for you be somewhere smelling like a rotten corpse. Drop that in the description box and purchase these fine products to keep that box in working order. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air 30-year reunion. Oh my God, it was so good. It left us so much to unpack, so much to talk about, filled in so many blanks, pulled at so many heartstrings, and created a lot of thought-provoking questions for discussion. Let's talk about it. Here you go. Nessa girl, you know, I had been holding back on watching the Fresh Prince 30-year reunion. I don't know, for whatever reason, I just wasn't super duper excited to do it. And then last night, I couldn't sleep. About 3 o'clock in the morning, I was like, let me put this on and see if I can fall asleep to it. And I ended up watching the whole thing, and I'm actually glad I did. Let me first start off by saying, whoever produced this and put it together, this was one of the most amazing, creative pieces of storytelling that I had ever seen. They told the story so beautifully. The segments were so well crafted and put together. I was highly impressed, coupled with the fact that they could have just did it at a damn Holiday Inn banquet room, but they chose to spend the money to recreate the entire set. And trust and believe, that wasn't cheap. Nevertheless, the show did really good. You know, I don't know about y'all, but I never knew. Hell, Alfonso Ribeiro said he never knew the history about how Benny Medina simply called Will Smith and said, hey, Quincy wants you to come over to his house, Quincy Jones. And when Will gets there, he was like, listen, we're doing the show, and you're it. You know, all the big time Hollywood execs were at that party, and Quincy Jones silenced the room and said, all right, we're going to audition him right now. And Will went in the back, and Will said, well, how much, Quincy Jones said, how much time do you need to get ready? And Will said, 2 weeks. And Quincy Jones said, you need 2 weeks, huh? He said, well, every Hollywood executive and person needed to greenlight this show is out there in that living room, and you need 2 weeks. And Will said, give me 10 minutes. And Quincy said, all right, 10 minutes, we got an audition. And Will comes back out, auditions. They did a deal memo on that day, and that's how they were able to steamroll that show straight to series. Will was sharing that basically 30, 60, 90 days later, they were already getting ready to do the damn pilot, which, y'all, I've been a part of a lot of productions, things that pilots that have taken us over a year to work on. So when he says that Quincy Jones steamrolled him to series, that is a big feat. Now, the question that a lot of people have, I'll read a lot of forums and a lot of questions. You know, there's always been rumors that Will Smith and Benny Medina had more than a business relationship, if you get my drift. There's also been industry rumors that Quincy Jones is a part of that faction of Hollywood that go anyway and sleep with young boys, allegedly. I don't know this to be true, and I'm so not trying to sully his name. However, that's what the people say. And a lot of people are wondering, why is it you, and what was it about you that would make Quincy Jones put his name, reputation, and all this money on the line, who has never been tried and true in acting, and has never, had any real experience doing so? Why is it they chose you? Is it some old tea packed away in that closet that you ain't telling the girls? Nevertheless, it was really good. There were a lot of unanswered questions, and there were a lot of things that I would have liked to have seen. I would have liked to have seen a conversation between both of the Aunt Bivs, right? And we're going to talk about the Janet Hubert section. But when they brought Janet Hubert out to meet Daphne Maxwell Reid, I would have loved to have heard just a dialogue between those two. In particularly, Daphne Maxwell Reid coming behind her. What angst did she feel, or pushback, or rejection did she get feel having to fill such big shoes? I mean, even to this day, we accepted Daphne Maxwell Reid, but Aunt Viv, that original Aunt Viv, was always the Aunt Viv. There was another conversation I would have liked to have had about color and colorism. I would like to know, A, why the network execs opted to go with a lighter skinned version of Aunt Viv. I'd like to know if Janet Hubert felt a way that she was replaced by somebody that was so light skinned, even though she didn't have no grounds to feel no kind of way. But I would just liked a lot of that dialogue. However, I understand that they probably chose to restrict the parts that they did with Janet Hubert because we did not want to make this the Janet Hubert Will Reconciliation Show, but we wanted to pay homage and honor the entire body of work. So I get why Janet Hubert's role was restricted in this particular thing, especially considering the fact that for the last 2 decades there's been so much controversy around her name. I'm guessing they did not want the controversy to overshadow the show. Something else I would have liked to have seen, when they brought Ross Bagley out, Little Nicky, I would have liked some more dialogue from him. We got a hug from Little Nicky, and quiet as it's kept, they left Nicky out of the main promo. I mean, and granted, his role was minimal in the grand scheme of the show, but the little boy was great. He was so cute as a little boy, and I'm gonna leave that part at that part. But I would like to have also known, what are the people doing now? We know what Alfonso Ribeiro is doing, but Karen Parsons, quiet as it's kept, I've only ever seen Karen Parsons, who played Hillary Banks. I've only ever seen her in Major Payne, in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I promise y'all, I have never seen her in anything else. And if you have, please drop that in the comments and let us know what it was. Tatiana Ali, every now and again, I pick up a little Hallmark film or something, and she working. I mean, quiet as it's kept, they probably still get some pretty decent residual checks, considering the fact that nobody on their stage touched anybody, allegedly, and Me Too the hell out of anybody child age coochie. So that is a good thing. I'm going to point out something. You never know how groundbreaking and history making something is when you're in it, right? I remember being a teenager, young kid, just watching the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air for sheer entertainment value. I don't ever remember watching it feeling like, oh, this is black excellence. Oh, this is so great to see a different kind of black family. Oh, this is so great for the culture. I don't remember having those views at that time. At that time, it was just a show I liked to watch. In hindsight, looking at what was going on in the world then, what was not being shown of black people then, and what that show did, I don't think the Fresh Prince gets the credit that it should get, quiet as it's kept, in terms of impact. Although Cosby Show was the first, it had some Cosby Show-esque thunder behind it that I think does not get celebrated often because we get so caught up in the comedic aspect of what the show delivered. But this was really groundbreaking. I'm going to tell you something. It left me feeling, after watching this documentary or reunion, it left me feeling like, why and when are we going to get some more rich, educated black people's stories told on television? Oftentimes Hollywood does this whole boxing black people into this urban stuff. Everything's got to be urban. Everything's got to be hip-hop-esque. Everything has got to be about the gritty grime of working class or poor black people. And you know, here's the funny thing about it. Fucking around with the media, you would mess around and think that all black people are poor or struggling or working class. And I think if we had more media examples of well-to-do, black people, not only will black people themselves, but white people in the whole world would get a different impression and a different feel for who it is we are as a people. You know, everybody is not like you and your neighbors. Everybody is not like the neighborhood you grew up in. Everybody is not living in your current circumstance. And that's all you may be able to see because that's your bubble. But there is a whole lot of damn black people who are living very well and doing it on a daily and producing very well educated, high paid, high earning children. Moving right along, because what y'all all want to talk about is this Janet Hubert section. Now, you know, that was the section that I was very most interested in, and that's the section that I also have the most to say about it. Now, let me start off by saying I am very glad that it happened. I'm very glad that Janet Hubert got the healing that she was so desperately looking for, right? Because for so many years, she terrorized Will, Jada, and us with these rants. Even as most recently when Will was disappointed that he did not get the Oscar for one of those movies, she did a whole video slamming Will and Jada, going off on Jada, who ain't had nothing to do with nothing back when you was working at the damn Fresh Prince, over Will. She was so angry, hurt, and bitter that it consumed a large part of her being. And the cautionary tale for me is I don't ever and will never allow that much of my happiness to be predicated upon an apology from somebody else that I might not never get. It troubles me that Janet never found a way to move on or to move forward. And it seems to me that all Janet wanted was some acceptance. Because for her to have been as mad and with the amount of vitriol that she spit in the past, it would have seemed to me that she'd have came there ready to cuss Will ass the fuck out. And she came happy, ready to be the mama type, and I'm glad she did because she, for the most part, is a classy-based, well-respected woman. But here's some things I want to unpack. And most recently, y'all have been hearing me tell y'all about you get much further in life being liked than you do qualifying. And it feels as if Janet's story is a simple story of you weren't liked. Now, the thing that was disappointing to me is that I was ready for a story about how Will Smith went to the executives and the producers and said he wanted her fired. That's the story I was looking for because that's the energy that Janet gave, in my opinion. Like he had downright intentionally had done something to her. And some may argue that he did. Come to find out, Janet in her own words says that she was going through a lot of things at home. And she was unhappy. And she says that I wasn't difficult. I simply came to work and did not talk to anyone because I was in a bad place and I didn't know who to trust. So let me stop right there. I came to work. I wasn't difficult. I just didn't talk to anybody. How do you think that's going to work? And I have to be empathetic and compassionate to what she was going through at home. But the cautionary tale for everybody listening is that it is not anybody else's job to accommodate your personal dysfunction. It would be nice if they would have. It would be nice if somebody would have taken the time to dig in a little more and figure out what's going on. And I'm making allowance for the fact that she was pregnant. But going back to that story that I never told y'all about me bringing down the morale of the office, I got fired from a job basically because everybody was on this note and I was over here with attitude. And so nobody liked to see me coming. And when you're at work and when you're on a production set, for those of us who've never been on it, and you work with these people this intimately, they are your family. And so we do all like having a good time. We do all like going for a drink after work. We do all like slapping five. We do all like, how are you going to come to work and not talk to people? And think that that's okay. So what that did is it created a dynamic where people probably didn't want to see her coming. Or they thought she was a bitch. Or they thought she was standoffish. For whatever the case may be. And then to me, that suggests, and I don't know this to be fact, but that suggests to me why she was given a reduced contract. Because here's the thing. When Daphne Maxwell Reid was brought on board, the Aunt Viv character did not diminish. It was not reduced. It stayed the course. So it was not that they were looking to diminish the role of Aunt Vivian. They were looking to diminish the role of you. And the question is why? So you put so much on Will. Something else that I found very poignant was that Will said to the cast, Janet wants to know if y'all would talk to her. Janet wants to know if y'all would talk to her. Why wouldn't they talk to you? If you ain't did nothing to nobody, or if there's no ill will, why would they not want to talk to you? So that was very telling. And again, coupled with what we've seen of Janet over the years, with the attitude and the video and stuff, I feel it in my bones that she has the strong propensity to be a bitch. I'm glad she's got the resolve that she got. I would have liked a tad bit more accountability on Janet's part. Now, I'm guessing at somewhere Will must have used the word she was difficult. And to her point, that is the mark of death for a Hollywood actress. Especially, like she said, at that time, dark skin, her age, they were not writing a whole lot of roles for women that look like her. When you look at Harriet Winslow, we ain't seen Harriet Winslow do a lot past Family Matters. I was glad to see her in the Disney live action version of the Little Mermaid with Shirley MacLaine. They made it a real movie. I got to see Harriet Winslow in that, and she did Proud Family. But Harriet Winslow never went on to do a lot of work. And those women that got typecast in those mother roles could never escape them, i.e. Loretta Devine. Loretta Devine and Jennifer Lewis became everybody mama and everybody auntie at this point. So I get how when already playing with limited role availability or limited role pool, how being marked difficult could be damaging. Or when you're on such a hit show and the headlines read fired, how that could be difficult and nobody would want to mess with it. But I must also say, in my opinion, the way Janet conducted herself years later with these rants and stuff, it did not help her. It lended itself to people further saying she's a bitch or she's difficult, because that's how it came off. And people, you gotta learn how to help yourself. Perception is reality. And I don't know why that is such a hard lesson for so many people to understand. The truth never fucking matters. It should, but it doesn't. The truth never matters. It's what the other person perceives. The perception was that she was difficult. And she helped feed that perception. I'm hoping now that time has passed, that Janet Hubert is able to collect her things. I hope Hollywood gives Janet Hubert her things. I definitely see it in me that Tyler Perry would probably call and offer her some work. I also see Janet being one who probably would be too proud to take it, or feel that Hollywood, that Tyler stuff may be beneath her. I don't know. I hope not, but it'd be a great way to get her back out there. Something else that I was confused about She said she lost her family, she lost her job. Then she said her family disowned her and said that she ruined their name or brought shame to their name. I wasn't quite understanding anything that she did that brought shame to their name. So if y'all are able to understand what she meant by her family disowned her and why they disowned her, please drop that in the comments, because right now as it stands, I'm like, did they disown you because you got fired and the headline said you were difficult? Like, that doesn't make sense. It would seem to me that your family would rally behind you. Why is it her family abandoned her if you were able to pick up on that? Outside of that, y'all, this was very good. I do like the fact that Will said in hindsight, he realizes that you were going through a lot of pain and a lot of whatever, which I acknowledge. But here's the other thing y'all gotta understand too. You can't fault people for what they don't know. And it's not somebody else's job to guess what's wrong with you. We as people, and particularly in the African American community, we've got this whole don't air your dirty laundry thing so bad that folks be suffering in silence. I think had folks known what was going on with her, things would have been a hell of a lot different. So that's another cautionary tale. Open up your damn mouth. I can't support you and give you what you need if I don't know what's going on with you. And while in a perfect world people will guess and be perceptive and intuitive, Will and others were so caught up in their own hype that maybe they didn't have the capacity to do so. Will was a 21-year-old star of a show. How many of us were very emotionally intelligent at 21 years old? Now you making Ferrari money, you driving, you partying, and all you know is you come to work and this bitch ain't talking to you. You know, coupled with the red table talk, and I've only seen a snippet where Will was talking about how he needed the approval of Janet. He needed that reaffirmation from her as a result of his own childhood stuff. And then you basically being quiet and snubbing people, you activate trauma in other folks. You know, it was a whole lot, but I'm glad we were able to get down to the bottom of it, y'all. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air 30-year reunion. If you haven't seen it, you might want to watch it on HBO Max because it was an excellent show. That's all I got. Ain't got no more. And I'll call y'all hoes later. Bye.